Hello. Welcome back. Today, I want to tell you guys a story both about a day during the summer of 2022, and I want to tell you a story about that summer. So, as you all know, I am on my soulmate journey. The journey to meet my boo. And that has been a lifelong journey. But it has definitely been exacerbated by this spiritual awakening that I went through in 2021, maybe 2020, but I think 2021. And so, since that spiritual awakening, I have had a particular obsession with finding my person. And I think it's for many reasons, both because I've always had a desire to be in love. I'm a hopeful romantic, I guess. But also because I know there's some information, there's some type of really cool wisdom and intelligence attached to love that I want access to. It's always been a big part of my spiritual journey. But I want to tell you guys about the summer of 2022 because it was looking back now, it was such a spiritually rich time. And it was also such a great period of self-love, self-discovery, self-time, working with myself, being with myself, and being with God. So I, so during the summer of 2022, I was particularly feeling like I was on the path to meet my person. I was somebody who was watching tarot readings a lot of tarot readings, a lot of soulmate-based tarot readings. And I was also beginning to feel beautiful. My hair was growing. I had locks at the time. My hair was growing longer. My hair was getting fuller. I was developing as a woman. I was beginning to find my shape and all of these things. There's a lot of self-growth happening physically and just like human-wise, body development-wise, adult-wise. And then there was also spiritual development happening that was creating a lot of love internally, which I don't think I recognized at the time, but it's true. I was beginning to really love myself, beginning to love my face, beginning to love my energy, just really appreciating myself. And I think that is part of the reason why I was so attracted to soulmate readings at the time, because really I was getting to know myself. I was getting to know my own soul. And I was so attracted to love and feeling like love was right around the corner, because I was actually being introduced to a very profound love, but it was a love of self, and it was it was also a love channeled through God, like a love and a connection and a growth closer to spirit, channeled through time spent with myself. So there were two forms of love that were developing: a love with spirit and a love with myself. And they were very beautiful. And those relationships were transforming because I've never hated myself. So I never went through that, really, I don't think. I had problems, of course, like everybody does and like every girl does. But I've always had a love for myself. But this was a major transformation into womanhood and adulthood and appreciating myself as more of a whole human being, all of me coming together and appreciating that. And I've also always had a love for God and for spirituality, but this was a different level. This was a much more intimate and revealing and honest relationship with spirit. As a child, I had a relationship with God, but there was a lot of shame, there was a lot of guilt, there was a lot of secrecy. This time around, this relationship was developing with a lot of vulnerability, a lot of honesty, and an ability to truly be myself. And that means, talking to spirit when I want to complain and then when I'm feeling like a brat, and talking to spirit about my dreams and my desires, and talking to spirit about my problems and my family issues, and just a lot of talking to spirit and relating and connecting and building that relationship with spirit. And through talking to myself and talking to the camera. So if you go to my old YouTube channel, Zanala Halisha, you will find that 2022 was a time when I was filming YouTube videos a lot. I was talking a lot, and you would usually see me walking around my neighborhood and being at this park that I love, my favorite park. It's not the same anymore because it really does encapsulate a very specific part of my life, and so it's hard to when I go there these days, I mean, I don't go there now because I'm in South Korea, but when I would go like within the past year, it's not the same because it's just attached to a very specific time in my life. And really parks are just attached to a very specific era in my life. I guess my relationship with that form of nature, with parks and forests, it was during I would say the height of my spiritual journey, when I was really, the beginning and the height is what parks and forests and nature, really, I was spending a lot of time there. And so whenever I go to those places, it's more nostalgic than it is like resonant in the moment, though I always love nature no matter what. So anyways, so what's the point? Right, so so the summer of 2022, like I said, I was developing love, I was blah, 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 blah. But I really, really felt like I was gonna meet my soulmate. And there was one particular reading that I got from a girl who is very popular on YouTube, but I don't know her name because I only really ever watched this one reading by her, and I never watched another one again. I don't think she ever came across my page again, but she does tarot readings, and she was doing a reading, I think it was for Cancer, but it might have just been a general reading, I don't remember. But there are things that stood out in the reading. So in the reading, she said that when I met my soulmate, it was gonna be like pouring rain. Pouring rain. I just remember her talking about pouring rain and like lightning and thunderstorms, and rain, rain, rain. Rain really stuck in my head. And so from that reading, I ended up having a day. So there's this day, I went to the botanical garden, the Toronto Botanical Garden. And this is, again, a summer where I was going to parks all the time, just being out in nature, out of the house all the time. So I went to the Toronto Botanical Garden. I felt particularly cute that day. I got all dressed up. I think I brought snacks. I brought my tarot cards. It was the best day ever. I was in such good energy. I had been starting to go to the Botanical Garden a lot. I loved the trip up. I loved taking the bus and being on the bus ride, the long bus ride, and then transferring over to this like cute, classy bus. It's the same bus, but it was just cleaner and like less people on it, and it just felt different. And then like driving through the bridle path and then getting off at the park and then spending time in the park. So I loved my whole like journey, my whole experience. So I was at that park that day. I spent the whole day at the park. I did tarot readings in the park with my ancestor deck. I was having the best time. I might have filmed a reading, I might have filmed videos, but when I was doing my reading, I felt like I was getting messages. I was just so like in the zone. And then I spent the whole day there. So I ended up leaving pretty late, and I missed my like last bus or something like that. I didn't leave that late, but I like missed my bus. So I had to like walk, and I went on this long walking journey to like the next bus stop that I could find, and like I was confused and I was getting lost. It was a whole like journey of a day. But I finally got on the right bus and I was on my way home, and that bus ride was so weird because the bus driver was so like theatrical. First of all, he was like using the announcement thing to talk to people on the bus, which bus drivers in Toronto never do. Like TTC people never do that. They never like use their announcement thing. Like it felt like I was living in a small town where like everybody knew each other, and that was the vibe, because the bus driver was like talking to us like in an intimate way, and I was just like, what is this? Like I was loving it. I love it. I was so happy about it. Because it was just so cute and charming, and I was like already in such like a hee mood because I was just having the best day ever. I was having the best day ever. And I had a lot of days like that summer. I remember that summer being very happy. I'm sure I had several days where I was pissed or crying or upset or blah, blah, blah. But when I look back at that summer, and especially when I look at photos of myself from that summer, I just think about the happiness, because ultimately I was very happy, even though I was not meeting my soulmate and my soulmate never came that summer. It didn't matter. Like, I ended up having the best time, and I made so many good internal memories. Like, I have a few memories I can think of and days I can think of because I felt particularly beautiful, or I saw something really weird or crazy, or I had a really interesting reading, or something stuck out. But really, I gained really strong spiritual memories in terms of connecting with myself. I really connected with myself that summer, and I didn't realize it at the time, and I really didn't realize it for a few years. But looking back now, I realize how important that summer was for forming my strong relationship with myself, and that strong sense of self-love, which is you really need in this life, and you definitely need as an adult, and you definitely need as a woman. And so I'm so grateful for that summer, and I'm so grateful my soulmate didn't come, because like I would have been distracted and I wouldn't have spent all that time with myself, and I totally needed it, and it was so good. I have no regrets. But anyways, so yeah, I was on the bus ride home. The bus driver was being like a character. I freaking loved it. And he was like, "Get ready, folks. Like, it's about to start pouring rain." And I was like, what is he talking about? Like, I didn't know what he was talking about. I was just enjoying the whole moment. And then it starts pouring rain. Pouring rain. Like, downpour, deluge, like flood rain, like flash flood rain. I was like, what the hell? Everybody was like, oh my God. Like, everybody on the bus was like, ah, like this is crazy. Like, everybody just, it feels like everybody was alive. Everybody was alive. Everybody was in the moment. Maybe it was just me. I was just being super happy because I was having the best day ever, because I was having the best summer ever. But everything was so great. Everything was so great. And so I was like, oh my God, it's pouring rain. And I think my mind went to the reading, because the whole day, I think actually I was thinking about the reading. I was always thinking about my soulmate during that time. So there was never really a point where I wasn't thinking about them. So anything that happened that would make me think of a reading that I had heard of, where something like that might have been mentioned, I was like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. So with the rain, I was like, my soulmate, like I'm gonna meet my soulmate. So I was now hyper aware, and I was like giddy, and I was thinking, I was like, but I was also like looking at the clock, like tick tock, because I was on my way home. So I was like, where are they? But I was also like, oh my God, they're coming. So anyways, it's pouring rain. We end up getting to my bus stop. It's pouring rain. So I like run off the bus, and like it's raining, and I'm like, oh my God, like it's raining. And like I'm running across the street, and like I'm being dramatic and like putting on a show for the people who are in their cars. Like, oh my gosh. And I get to my bus stop, and like instead of going standing under the bus shelter like a normal person, I go and I'm like standing in the rain, and I'm like, oh my God, like and I'm taking pictures of myself because I'm documenting the moment, because I literally think my soulmate's gonna like come and tap me on my shoulder, because I'm like, this reading said it was gonna be pouring rain. So like it's pouring rain now. So, oh my God, my soulmate's coming. It was so funny. There was lightning, there was thunder. It was so cinematic. It really felt like a movie. I have pictures from that day because I truly, truly believed I was meeting my soulmate. Mind you, earlier in that day, I had taken so many gorgeous pictures of myself. Pictures that, I have one particular picture that would end up being like the picture I used for myself for like a while. It like became like my profile photo. And I wore this top I really loved that like I wasn't really ever able to wear the same way again. Like it just worked that day. My hair was fabulous. My skin was fabulous. My smile was fabulous. I just felt gorgeous. It was truly a divine day. And the photo that I took that day I ended up using for the very first like cover photo of like my music that I would ever upload onto like a streaming platform and like have a photo for. Like there was just so much going on that day. There was so much going on that day that it was a divine day. It wasn't a day that I would be my soulmate, but something was happening that day. And I like the repercussions like positive wise, in a positive context, I feel like they're so much bigger than I even still know now. I don't even know like what it all means. Well, but I think that day was very significant because when I think back on it, I'm just like, what a standout day. Like it was so cinematic, it was so theatrical. So anyways, I'm at the bus stop waiting for the bus. Like the bus isn't gonna come for a while. So I'm like standing in the rain and I'm like, oh my God, I'm being dramatic because there's also somebody at the bus stop. So like my Leo rising nature is coming out and I'm like putting on a show and being dramatic, though nobody asked me to. Nobody asked. Who knows if she was even watching, but either way, I was like, there's an audience. Let's go. Let's perform. I was having the best time ever. So happy. Taking photos of myself because I'm like, oh my God, this is the moment before I meet my soulmate. I want to document what I looked like. The bus comes, I get on the bus, I'm like giggling to myself and like being dramatic and crazy, looking on the bus, wondering like, is my soulmate on the bus? Every time I stop at a new bus stop, looking around, eventually get home to my bus stop, I'm like walking and I'm like, is it still raining at this point? I can't remember if it was still raining at this point or if it was just like the dew, like the nice little dew. So I'm like walking slowly. I'm like walking slowly inside and like I'm taking my time because I'm giving my soulmate time because I'm like, oh my God, like you guys, I'm going inside, like, you know, tell him to hurry up. So I'm literally walking slow because because I'm thinking my soulmate might be like just like running late. I don't know. So anyways, I'm walking like slowly inside and like taking pictures, taking more pictures of myself, like giggling and laughing and like being like having the best time ever. Eventually I go inside because I'm like, girl, TikTok. So I go inside, I'm like, maybe in the little elevator, get all the way upstairs. Ain't nothing happened. I don't meet nobody. Go to the bathroom, take several pictures of myself because I'm so elated and I'm so happy. I'm like looking at my hair, I'm like, and it was just a fabulous day. It was a fabulous day. It was one of the best days ever, to be completely honest. It was one of the best days that summer, and it will forever live in my mind as like one of the best days of my life, which is crazy to say. Which is crazy to say because I'm like, girl. But it's also like, it was the feeling. It was the feeling. There was just such a joy. I was so joyful. I was so happy. And like it costed nothing. Like I didn't do much, you know. I just went to the park. I paid for my bus fare and I went to the park and I spent all day at the park and I think I ate fruit and like snacks and stuff like that. Just laid around in the grass, talking to myself, giving myself readings, talking to the trees, and then going home, getting lost, having a journey home, getting caught in the rain. And it was a divine day. It was a divine day. It was divinely orchestrated. And I didn't meet my soulmate. I didn't meet anyone. Nothing happened in terms of me and other people. I didn't get some type of crazy, insightful message. I didn't like, nothing like that happened. It was just a really good day, a really good feeling. And when I think about that summer, I'm like, it was good for so many reasons. It was good because it was a great summer. I got to spend so much time with myself. I did have a job. I forgot about that. I did have a job, but it was still pretty chill. And that's so funny because that summer I had a job that I hated, but when I think about that summer, it's like a split life. Like when I think about the time that I spent with myself that summer, it's so separate from the time that I spent working because my work life was like, blah. But like my self time was so fabulous. I was just really getting to know myself and realizing that I really loved myself. I really like myself. I love hanging out with me. I love talking to myself. I was realizing that I love thinking about spiritual concepts. I love having ideas and sharing those ideas, and I love thinking that they can be real, and like I love developing theories. I was learning so much about myself, so much about myself, so much about my soul, and I was spending a lot of time with spirit because I was debating things and I was you know, receiving messages, intuitive hints, whatever, and following those like trails of you know, breadcrumbs to some type of conclusion. I was having the best time ever. I think I'm telling this story because I am realizing now. I was thinking about it a few days ago because I was thinking about moments. I don't know what I was thinking about that triggered this. It might have been what Esotero asked about moments when you've experienced God and something like that, or I don't remember exactly what triggered all of this, but a few days ago, I realized I wanted to tell a story about this story about the day I spent with God, um, and the summer I spent with God. And it's funny because it's more so actually about the summer I spent with myself. And through spending time with myself, I spent time with God because me and God are like that. You know, me and Spirit are like, that's my bestie. I'll be talking to them all day, all day long. And even when I'm not talking to them, I'm living beside them. You know, I walk with God. I walk with Spirit in my life, and that's a good way for me to live. I'm happy when I live that way. I'm learning that that's a good thing for me. And yeah, getting to share my thoughts, that was such a rich time spiritually. And spiritually, creatively. This was such a rich, spiritually creative time. I had so many ideas, and I was so alive. I was so vibrant. I'm so grateful for that time. And then literally at the end of that summer, I would end up quitting my job, cutting off my hair, and going to the ashram. It was such a crazy time. It was such a crazy time, but it was the best time. It was the best time, and I'm so grateful. I don't know what else to say. I'm just so grateful for that summer. That summer was the best. I can go back to readings from that time and look at myself in that time, and I was so dedicated to tarot and so interested in tarot, so interested in readings, so interested in spirituality. Just such a good time. Such a good time for development. It's so nice to be able to remember when you started to care about something. Because, like, I can remember when I started to care about recording music seriously, because that wasn't that long ago. That was after I left the ashram. It developed during the ashram, and then after I left the ashram is when I started to get into music production and recording music. And now look at me. I mean, I have so many albums. But before that, I've always loved music and like making voice notes and things like that. And I think that whole era of like a lot of voice notes started during my spiritual awakening. That began during the beginning of my spiritual awakening. But I've always loved music. So I can't remember like when I began to love music. I can't remember when I like began to love dance. You know, those are just things that I've always loved. But this summer, I think, can be a defining moment for me in realizing when I began to love like spiritual philosophy, and developing my own spiritual philosophies, my own theories, theorizing, critical thinking. You know, I really, really enjoyed that summer, and that was when I really began to do that seriously and develop that as a hobby and a passion. Um, and I'm so grateful that I did. I'm so grateful I had the time and the space to. Had I met my soulmate, it wasn't the right time to meet my soulmate. But what I did do is I met a part of my soul. I met a part of myself that I didn't know very well. And I'm so grateful I did. Like, fuck the soulmate. Like, I love my soulmate. I'm so excited to meet them one day. But like, I needed that part of my soul. And I would be at such a loss had I not gotten that time. I'd be so devastated. I would never, never, never go back and change a thing. I'm so glad that I got all of that time to myself and all of that time to just do what I do. And all that time to discover myself as a YouTuber, what I like to do on YouTube. It was such a rich summer. That was an abundant summer. A summer abundant with joy, with creativity, with creation, with expression, with self-discovery, with growth. It was such a rich time, and I can only look back at it fondly. It makes me so happy. I'm so proud. I look back at it like a mom. And I'm just so happy that I got to experience that. I'm so proud of myself, and I'm so grateful. And I'm genuinely happy for myself. I'm happy that I got that experience. I think that's something that I will treasure for the rest of my life, which is incredible because it's just time with myself. You know, I didn't go to some new country. I didn't, do some incredible live performance, nothing. I was just spending time with myself in my neighborhood. And yet, it's one of the best memories I have of my early 20s. And so many of the best memories I have from my early 20s are me just hanging with myself, talking to spirit, talking to the camera, and developing my ideas and really developing my relationship with my soul. Best memories. And it was free. It was with nature. It was with the earth. It's why I think I'm so close to the earth, because I did so much of this self-development out in nature. Most of my breakthroughs and my revelations and my working through what happened in nature. I went to the park and I would cry. I went to the park and I would talk about things, and I would film videos and I would do readings. The park was my home. I basically lived at the park. I lived at the park. I lived in the forest. That's where I was. You know, I would go home to eat and sleep, and then I would go right back outside. That's exactly what life was like during that time. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I guess if there's any message I want to give, it's just to let yourself have these moments. And I think it doesn't matter, because it's not like I was like letting myself have time with myself. I was thinking I was going to meet my soulmate every time I went outside. I wasn't thinking about any of this at the time. I wasn't like enlightened in that way. I was all about my soulmate, but yet I actually ended up being all about myself. And that's how I know that my relationship with my soulmate is going to be healthy and positive, because even when I'm thinking about them, I end up doing something really good for myself. It's not a self-destructive relationship. It's not like one of those scary twin flame things where it's like you think about them and you don't leave your house because all you do is think about them. Like it's something terrifying like that. It's not like that. When I think about my soulmate, I really end up just thinking about what I want to do. I end up thinking about ideas that I'm interested in. I end up being creative. I end up expressing myself. I end up being happy. You know, I end up doing something that fulfills my spirit. That's how I know that I'm going to have a healthy soulmate relationship, because thinking about my soulmate never really takes from me. It never really sets me back. It makes me aware of something. It helps me get through something. It helps me do some type of work. It helps me spend time with myself. It brings me joy. It brings me laughter. It makes me imagine. It makes me create. It makes me express. It's positive. And so if I could give any advice when it comes to soulmates and that whole area of spirituality and life, you know, what does your time spent thinking about your soulmate look like? You know, when you're in eras of life where you're really hyper obsessed with love and finding love, what does that manifest as? You know, because if it manifests as something that's actually really detrimental to you, or create some type of depression or anxiety or self-loathing, or then maybe you need to examine that. Because, you know, I was lonely during that time. I wanted love, but it didn't create a darkness, you know. I don't look back at that time and think sad things, you know. And I think that's because ultimately the root of my desire for love and my soulmate, it's positive, it's healthy. And you want it to be the same for you. You want the root of that desire to be healthy, so that whatever manifests from that desire and from you thinking about it is good for you. And not every root of our desire is healthy. Not every desire is healthy. You know, some things are desires because of other things going on. And so I think that's something to acknowledge. And it's not like I've always been this way. I've had horrible toxic relationships. I have a horrible toxic relationship. I've done horrible things with relationships and love because I was unhinged and I needed help. So I haven't always been this way. But by the time of summer 2022, I had done a lot of work at that point to get me to that space, I think. And so this is a sign to not avoid the work. Don't avoid the hard work, you know, let it happen. And if you're young, let it happen to you. Because shit, first of all, you've got the resilient spirit, you've got the time, and you might as well. You just might as well. I'm finding, and this is going to be the next video that I make, but you can't avoid hard work. You can't avoid hard work, and it's part of the human experience. And I don't think it's a curse. I don't think Adam and Eve cursed us. I don't think God cursed us, you know. I don't think the apple cursed us, the snake cursed us. I think hard work is part of being human. Why? Like, hard work is part of being human. Hard work is part of Earth. Hard work is Earth culture. That's what it's like to be on Earth. You work hard when you're on Earth. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Because if the work is fulfilling, then it's worth it. And it's hard, but it's worth it. Not everything is meant to be easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I think that's all I've got to say about this. I'm gonna move on and start to talk about hard work, because hard work is something we have to talk about. And it's something I'm learning. I'm saying all of this from a place of learning, not from a place of mastery. You know, I don't know when I'll ever master anything. I think we're just learning right now. I'm very young, so I've got lots to learn. But I'm gonna talk to you guys about work next, because I think it's important, especially for us women. Okay, so see ya. Love ya. Do you like my makeup? I wanted to do like a little fingerprint of gold and then like just a thin little line. I really like this channel because I'm finding that with Maytree Wisdom, I'm experimenting with my makeup a lot more, which is a lot of fun to like be expressive in that way. And I don't necessarily go out looking like this, not because I am ashamed or anything like that, but just because, I don't know, I like doing this with my channel. It feels like a fun artistic way. There's lots of arts and creativity with Maytree Wisdom. Like even my thumbnails, I've been having a lot of fun being creative with those, even though sometimes it stresses me out having to make them. I ultimately do enjoy it, and I like I think I like graphic design. I just like doing it stress-free. I don't think I want to do anybody else's graphic design because I don't want people telling me what to do. Or like, I don't want people telling me they don't like it. Because it's just like, well then like, fuck off, you know? So I can only really do graphic design for myself, or somebody who's just gonna give me free reign, you know? But I do really like it. I do really love that. So anyways, let's move on. So bye, love ya. I wonder what this is gonna be as. This could be, maybe this will be an And So Becoming video. And then maybe I'll make the hard work video for our children, because my kids need to know. But then we all need to know. So I don't know. Okay, bye.